Hey guys, um, I I think I'm at one of the lowest points in my life right now. I think um that I've been hurt a lot constantly by the people I care about and love dearly and deeply. In ways I never really thought I would be hurt. You know, I've been abandoned without reason. I've been ghosted. I've been emotionally abused. Like emotional neglect is emotional abuse. You know what I'm saying? I I've been blackmailed. All I'm not saying all these things are like happening right now, but all of these things have happened to me before. And I came to this year making this a year about growth into what I want and working very hard to get there. And it feels like no matter how much I give, no matter how great I am, no matter what I do, it'll be taken away from me because it's something I have to share in order to enjoy it. Like love and perception and being perceived and loving and just, not being so profoundly lonely. People who I consider like family, who are family, whether it's by blood or not, you know, are family. I'm estranged from now, and I don't know why, and I don't know. And I've tried to, contact them. I've contacted their friends. It it takes a toll on you, People who I say I love, and when I say I love somebody, it's not always romantic. So like when I love somebody, it's from the bottom of my heart. It's a true statement, you know. I just don't say I love people when I don't love people. I don't know what more I can do, Like one thing I say a lot is, if you can't fly, then run and hop and jump, and if you can't jump, then walk and stumble, and you got limping and crawling and rolling, and then there's struggling against the earth, gnashing and thrashing and struggling against the earth, and that's where I am right now. You know, it's it's like I've been in so much pain simply being myself, simply doing my best for others and doing my best for myself, and having that constantly abused, be constantly abandoned, be constantly less than, be constantly left in the dark. And it takes its toll on you. I turned 23 this year, December 21st. And that would be 10 years of when I recognized that there was this great shift in the hell on earth that became my mind began. 10 years, nearly half of my life, and I'm trying, and I refuse to let the cruelty of this world dull my kindness. And you know, anybody that's really met me and really talked to me for any period of time knows I say, you know, that I try to be for others what I always needed for myself. And I'm still trying. And I'm still gnashing and thrashing and struggling against the earth in this very violent, just cacophony of movement, mental and physical, you know? I'm at the point where in order to cope with the amount of pain I'm going through, you know, pain that makes me feel like my soul was boiled out of me with the pain that I've gone through, you know, from this year and a little bit of last year. You know, like I've turned myself nocturnal, you know. I'm trying to do these videos for you guys and for myself, you know. And any motivation that I had, it's very hard to get that, you know. I was going to go to my local anime con. I had commissioned a costume for myself and I paid a lot of money for it. And it got to the point where simply being there would have been self-harm. To mask and perform as I wanted to in order to potentially just gain friends and gain people to talk to and just have people that have the potential to perceive me, it would have been a violent self-harm. In fact, I don't even know if what I'm doing right now is self-harm. I don't know what else to do. You know, that's kind of been one thing my parents always said about me. Um, was that I didn't know how to stop even when it hurt. And I feel like in this instance, I want to stop, but I can't stop. And not because I don't know how to, because if I do, I might as well be dead. I might as well just die, you know? And that's that's a terrible feeling of being trapped. That's an existential crisis to be between the suffering of life and use all of your agency and all of your willpower to make it better for yourself. And because of how my issue works, I have to share it with others. I I can be perfect, but others don't have to be. Others don't need to be. And it can all be taken from me the same, whether I'm perfect or not. And I try to be perfect. You know, I don't try within an unreasonable degree and like, you know, hurt myself in the process, you know. Obviously take care of myself and take care of yourself. But I try my best, you know, all the time. I give money. I do things that might put me in direct danger just to save somebody else. I do that stuff. And it's not like, oh, because I do these things, I deserve the reward of being a hero. I'm saying all this to say I'm trying really hard for others and for myself And it feels like others don't do the same for me. They don't give me the same courtesy. And I'll tell them, I'll text people. I'll be like, please, can you just talk to me? You know? And it's not like in a pathetic sort of, I'm asking randoms who I barely know. No, I'm asking people who I consider like family, who know me in some ways better than I might know myself. I know myself very, very well. And I've been abandoned by like people like that, people who I'd consider best friends, people who I loved very dearly and was willing to prove that at the drop of a hat. And it's all just like, no matter no matter what it is, no matter how sacred it is to you, it can be taken away from you. And I can't help but feel it'll be taken away from me, you know? This constant countdown to doomsday. I don't know the arithmetic of the clock, but I have to fear this countdown at all times. To be estranged, from people you consider family. To be estranged from people who you've known since the third and fourth grade. To be estranged from people who you knew since you were a preschooler. To be emotionally betrayed in those ways, despite trying as hard as I possibly can, and truthfully, not knowing what I did if I did do something, you know? And I still have to try. Because if I don't, I might as well die. And I can't say the worst part of all of this. I don't constantly say this to myself, but I think this all the time, is that if I simply had done something wrong, it would be so much easier to process this. It'd be so much easier to, like, believe that things can improve, that I can be better than before, that I have something to look at and say, I did bad here. But I don't have that. I get nothing. I get years and years of blood, sweat, and tears, literally, for people, for myself, thrown away. No matter what I cultivate, no matter how deep, nothing is sacred. And as angry and as hurt and as grief stricken as I am, as mentally unwell as these things make me, and as much as it, you know, disrupts my sleep and through my dreams and hypnagogic jerk that's induced by stress and the arrhythmias, straight up arrhythmias, at due to the anxiety that these people have put me through and the pain that these people have put me through. You know, like, some of these people are still subscribed, I imagine. Like, and they just know I'm in pain. And they just don't care enough to reach out. They know I'm in pain. And they just don't care enough to reach out. it might be one of you watching. I'm in pain. And I've been in pain, and you knew I was in pain. And you knew I cared about you so deeply. You knew I loved you and that I meant the best for you in everything that I do. And that I'm trying my hardest and constantly failing, but in a way that's not really my fault. You know what I mean? It it all just eats away at your soul. And I have to move forward and I have to live. And it's like at some point, somewhere down the line, I'm afraid that I will die. And not like, and I don't mean a physical death. I mean a death of my will to to be my own person. Like I'd be in a dissociative state, a state of unreality until somebody perceives me. And then I only exist until I unexist because they're perceiving me and need me for whatever task or whatever presence. And that's terrifying to me. That's that's like hell, you know? Like there's this saying that the worst part of hell is not the pain or the flames, it's the hopelessness. I don't want to be there. I don't want to have a physical body simply because it has not died. I don't want to exist simply because I have not died. And I am simply a living tool for conversation, for thoughts, for kisses and hugs and sex and to love but not be perceived. To be loved but not understood. And I just have to perceive all of that. Not from my eyes, but from this projector screen before my eyes that my eyes relay to me. That I just don't control my eyes anymore. I don't control my movements, my body. I've completely submitted to not existing until I exist again. And then this isn't like some sort of, you know, mental health crisis or like I'm suicidal or I've developed like some sort of disorder, you know. This is just pain. Truly profound pain. Pain that I didn't experience 10 years ago or 5 years ago. But because of but because of the sum of my experiences, I can only experience now and I can only assume something even more profound in the future. And I can't give up. I can't rest. My mind is bloodied and wounded and scarred and aching and bleeding and pulsating and all these other things that indicate damage and effort and healing and reopened wounds and wounds that simply can't be opened because there's nothing but scar tissue there. And I still perform. And I still smile. And I still do things that beneath the customer service smile and the customer service efforts that I give to people, I truly don't feel anymore or don't feel right now. I need to heal from those things. And I wish I had these people's presence, you know? JC, KR, M MJ, AL, OM. I could just keep going and going and naming initials and initials and initials. And, people whose last names I forgot. A or some C and sometimes A, you know? People who I don't want to forget, but my brain is forcing me to. A girl from Texas, a girl from Michigan, a girl whose name starts with K and A, and I can just keep going and going for many years and months and days and moments. AR, AM. And it doesn't even blend. Each moment is its own individual pain that just adds and adds and adds and creates this pain greater than the sum of its parts. Because I had to experience all of it. And I had to experience it sequentially. And only I can experience it until I'm gone. Until my body is gone. And I go wherever you go when you don't have a body anymore. And I'm saying all this to say, although I'm suffering in such a profound way that can only be understood to the deepest regions by me because of how deeply I understand myself, I don't want to give up. And I don't want you to give up either, whatever that means. I still pray for you. I still think about you. I still give my goodwill, these positive manifestations to you guys, to the world at large. I can't let the cruelty I experience dull my own kindness and compassion. And I have to gnash and thrash and tear against the earth till the earth is gone or I'm gone or I'm standing upon it. That's all.